welcome to We're Not Wizards. We are the best, but not wizards. Enjoy the show!
To another episode of We're Not Wizards. My name's Richard. I'll be your host into April, and it's April showers and it's raining constantly. You could say it's raining potentially cats and dogs, and I'm fine with it being raining because obviously it helps the plants grow, but at the moment I must admit I feel like I'm kind of trapped in a cave. I can't go out, I can't cut the grass, I can't do the gardening. You could always say I'm looking for something to kind of get me out of this kind of whole rainy, cloudy situation. I need some kind of Stone Age distraction, before I end up having a hissy fit with all the rain that we're having. So in order to help me not have a hissy fit, or maybe do have a hissy fit, I have got Chris Stone from Stone Age Distractions. And he's here for a chat. He's not here, he's just here for a chat. We're going to have a gentle conversation.
And I'm here to try and help you avoid hissy fits.
We're gonna talk about this because we're coming from the kind of the Venn diagrams of pets, where we'd actually have two separate circles. Because you're very, very much got. I can see there's a cat on a chair behind you, whereas I have a dog on the floor, and I'm pretty sure there's a game in that. The cat in the chair, the dog on the floor. It's probably a kid's book. There's probably a kid's book. There's probably a kid's book out. There's probably
Dr. Seuss did that, didn't he?
He's probably He did a hat. You never hear very much from him anymore.
No, it's true.
I think dog. See, in Scotland, it would be cat in the chair and dog on the flare, which Scots obviously kind of rhymes, you see.
Perfect.
So you could continue a kind of poetry kind of situation. What we like to do, and we're not wizards, is we're going to start to do the whole journey. So we like to have a look back at the kitten of the past before we have a look at the scratching post of the present and the fur balls of the future. My first question is, right, is the whole cat being a cat person thing, is that part of the overall kind of marketing plan and game design? I mean, what came first? Was it the mechanics and the design for the game, or was it the fact that, look, I love cats, if I'm going to make a game, it's got to be about cats, basically?
Good question. The game was definitely theme first. So I remember the moment when I was sitting at my kid's soccer game, and since I'm not really a sports ball kind of guy, I usually have a notebook at these things, and so I'm constantly jotting down ideas and whatnot. And the idea came to me because I had taken my cat to the vet that morning, that there's got to be a game in this, right? This is what game designers always say after virtually any experience. There's got to be a game in this somewhere. So I made some notes about a game of trying to get your cat in the carrier to take to the vet, and I thought that might have some legs. And tried to develop it for a brief time on my own. Yeah. Oh, did you like that? Yeah. No pun intended. It might have legs.
I just imagine in a game. I'm just wondering why the game box doesn't actually have cat legs, on it. No,
I like it. Yeah. Sort of like Kramer's coffee table book that turns into a coffee table in Seinfeld.
Or isn't there the whole kind of bears? There's the whole bears versus babies as well by
yes,
the Exploding Kitten people, which is literally
like
a big
furry
box.
Yes,
like a furry box.
Absolutely.
What I'm thinking, as a quick aside, I'm thinking that in the next version of the game, you quite literally have 4 holes in the bottom of the box, and they have like 4 kind of finger gloves with cat legs in them. And you can put,
I like where your head's at, Richard.
You can put your hand
and walk the game box around the table.
And you
going,
can walk the
meow.
game box around the table. And that's an entire new mechanic. I mean, I'm gifting you stuff, Mr. Stone.
No, that's great. I'll have to list you in the credits when we definitely steal that idea.
I'll have to list you in the credits and then make sure that like I block you across all different social medias to make sure that we don't, because let's face it, when we're talking in the green room, I literally ruined April Fool's Day for you.
You did. You had such a great idea for what we should have done on April Fool's Day.
For what you should have done, yeah. I mean, I don't usually have kind of my guests kind of, I guess, regretting their life choices. But I think if we're going to kind of continue down this line, we might as well kind of go through the whole hog. I have yet to make somebody cry. Let's see if we can.
Fair enough. Let's see if we can. Life goals. Yeah. So, are we going to share? Are we going to share the April Fool's idea, or just leave people wondering?
I don't know if these people deserve to hear the April Fool's idea, because I don't want them think. I think we basically decided, right? Mm-hmm. And we'll get around. Hissy Fit is literally about taking your cat to the vet, which, as we know, has its own challenges. And I said, what about if you took your dog to the vet? To which Chris said, well, that would be an easy thing. You could just open up the door to the car and the dog would jump straight in. To which I said, that should have been a print and play version on April 1st. Here's our first expansion to Hissy Fit, and it was just one card that people.
The one card game.
The dog
Barky
gets
Fit.
in the car. And then you could literally have like 20 versions of the same card, but it's just different breeds. Because if there's one thing about dog owners, part of them is just like, well, that's a Labrador, I'm not interested. Where's the Spaniel, or where's the Cockapoo, or where's the Doberman, or where's the American Bully Dog? I mean, where are they?
It's a 60 card game, and all the cards are the same except for the breed of the dog. Play this card. The dog gets in the car.
People would buy it. People would buy that.
It's possible. People
are
crazy about their pets.
That would fit into the whole kind of getting the box with the holes in it, and then the glove thing, because you could just do the dog kind of walking about.
I'm into it.
This is where we are.
I'm into it. Expansion.
You're just pure gold. This is what you're hearing at the moment, people. Absolutely pure gold. You better be sitting down and taking notes, because this was the moment where Stone Age Distractions went from being kind of like stratospheric. This is where we're exploding kittens. Exploding who? Exploding in fear. That's what they're going to be. That's what I'm going to be saying.
Your royalty check is in the mail, Richard.
It's yeah, exactly. In a digital cash society, here's your check.
Yeah, here's your paper check. Signed with wet ink.
Good luck finding a bank to cash that bad boy. That's all I'm saying. So, okay, growing up, what were you? Because the thing I noticed, there's two sides to board game designers I usually hear about. One of them was I was very, very creative. All I did all day was like draw stuff, create stuff, and then when I fell into board games, it got the creative juices flowing and it pushed me into designing a game. Or the other side was I was a very theoretical, mathematical kind of kid. I liked a lot of logic stuff, and I ended up getting into things like chess and backgammon, and then when board games came along, I slid into the Euro stuff, and then from there I ended up kind of, I wanted to design a game because I love the kind of the math stuff and the logic stuff kind of behind it. So for yourself, where would you say you were kind of fitting on that slippery
on that continuum? Yes, I was definitely on the creative side. So I came into games through role-playing games back in the 70s, in Dungeons and
Wow.
Dragons as a teenager, and did that all sort of into college, but then really kind of didn't play games for a long time, for many, many years, until more recently, around like 2014 or so. And I mean, I had played board games growing up, but
Yeah.
not a lot. I mean, we actually were pretty lucky to have some pretty cool board games. Like I remember the original Dark Tower board game was something my brother and I would
Yeah.
play, which was awesome.
Wow.
But other than that, it was your standard fare board games. But around, like I say, 2014, 2015, my brother actually sent a copy of Pandemic to my kids at the time as a Christmas present or something. They couldn't have been any less
Or a
interested.
subtle threat.
Yeah, right. Yeah. But they were not the least bit interested. Yeah, right. Foreshadowing. But they had no interest in it. But I was dating a woman at that time, and so I took it the next time I went to see her and said, "Hey, this looks kind of cool. Let's give it a try." And we both really loved it, and so we became huge Pandemic fans and sort of got all the expansions, and that was me down the rabbit hole of hobby board games. And then a couple of years later, started thinking, well, this could be an interesting way. Well, actually, what happened was I went from being in a creative career to being in a more sort of administrative career, and was looking, maybe not consciously, but was looking for more of a creative outlet. And having gotten involved in board games, I started thinking about designing board games, and so went heavily into developing a way too big for my first board game design, as I think is common.
I think everybody does that. I think they're like, I think restraint is a good thing, and I've spoken about this before. Is if I give somebody 150 cards and 50 meeples and say, right, you knock yourself out, you do whatever, I'll come back to them in 6 months, and there's a likelihood they've not done anything. But if I give them a deck of like 25 cards and 5 meeples and say, right, go away and come back to me with a game, you go back to them 2-3 days later, and they've already managed to kind of work something out. So I think restraint is a kind of a good thing. Was the big game, was that like some kind of adventure type dungeon crawler type game that you were thinking about?
It was, yeah, and it's a game I'm still interested in developing at some point now that I have a little more design experience, because I do think it would be a great game. The name of this game was The Clockwork Maze of Professor Blunderbuss, and it was a it was a sort of steampunk themed game with tiles out on a board, but the tiles were all sort of gear shaped and all interlocked and rotated, but they didn't actually rotate each other the way gears really do. They sort of moved independently of each other, and you were trying to navigate this maze in sort of a dudes on a map kind of way. But it had some magnetic parts involved, and it was really a lot. But I still think it's got a lot of potential. And I've actually been working with a board game designer who's also an engineer, who he's actually helping me come up with a way to make the gears actual gears that actually interlock and turn each other and do some cool stuff. So I think that's got potential for a lot of table presence if I can work out all the details of that.
That'd be really cool. The one thing that I've seen where they use magnets to spin a board round was, I think, Coloma, where there's one of the central points is like a circular disc. So the magnet's contained within the disc. So it's a very, very small magnet on both sides, and you basically you rotate the disc depending on the round, and that decides kind of what resources and stuff like that are available, and it kind of works. It kind of works really, really well.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I love magnets in any game.
Is that not a bit of a health and safety risk if you have too many kind of magnets kind of going on?
I think it definitely increases your cost for safety testing, and it probably raises the age range that you're able to market to for sure.
Exactly. It's
Because you
like
don't want the
I don't
kids
want to. I
swallowing
don't.
the magnets.
I was gonna say it's like one of these things. If you don't want to make a game for kids, but you don't want to say you're making a game for kids, for young kids, fill that thing with magnets, and,
Right.
and then you'll literally by law, you'll need to put
That's
it from you. You need to get. It's like how old do you need to play it? It's got magnets in it. So how old do you need? You need to be 21, basically.
Right.
It's like it's either this or get a license to kind of like drive a truck.
Right.
Basically, it's got so many kind of magnets on it. So is it something that you're kind of dipping into now and again? Is it kind of like, have you got kind of like the folder and you just open up the box of stuff and you just open it up and go back to it and just tinker away and then kind of leave it alone again? Is that how it kind of works?
I mean, I'm always thinking about design, and I always have a few kind of irons in the fire. Um, my folder is very full of designs that I've started and taken to different levels of completion and either shelved or sort of kept in the running. I've probably got 20 or 25 different game design folders in my pending folder on my computer desktop that are things that I want to go back to someday. But yeah, I've got a lot of stuff. I tend to prioritize things based on market interest, I guess. Like I'm pitching to publishers. We ran the Kickstarter for Hissy Fit because my co-designer and I, Levi Robertson, who's a fantastic designer in his own right, and he and I have really enjoyed working together on Hissy Fit. We both got frustrated, trying to pitch to publishers just because that is a really daunting process, and it doesn't feel like, and I don't want anyone to take this the wrong way. I really respect publishers and their process for picking games, but at some level they're so inundated with pitches, I have to believe, that it's not just about the merit of the game. In other words, I'm sure there are a ton of fantastic games that aren't getting picked up by publishers, and I just feel like a lot of what goes into that is having the right relationships and having a lot of luck play into it. And of course, you have to be well positioned with a fantastic game in order for luck to strike. But it just felt like getting it in front of the right people to make the decision to sort of rise above the noise was super challenging. And so we just decided, hey, we want to be published game designers. Let's dive into the self-publishing path and get something out into the marketplace so people can see it and then hopefully like it and talk about the fact that we're doing good work, and hopefully that'll help us in our other efforts to get published. And so that was the route we chose. But yeah, back to your original question, sort of the reason that I pick one game over another to favor at any given moment is often which ones have piqued the interest of potential publishing partners. So, and I have a few things in that bucket right now.
Do you play a lot of games on a regular basis? Do you have like a regular game night, and are you able to sample kind of what is out and what's the hotness is and the new releases and stuff like that?
Yeah, that's a great question and a super important facet of design, I think. Now, I know there are designers who I've talked to who have been like, oh, I try not to play too many games because I don't want my mind getting like filled with other people's ideas, and I want to come at the design process fresh. I'm the opposite. Like I feel like I really need a lot of insight into, just like you said, what's the hotness, what are people interested in, what kind of design sensibilities are appeal to gamers. And so because like I said, I've only been sort of delving into modern hobby games since 2015, 2016, and back in that realm, I had missed a lot of the sort of golden age of a lot of the big Euros that came out, and a lot of the really classic designers. So I have been trying to play catch up, playing as many games as I can just to expand my knowledge of the portfolio of what's out there, and it's hard.
I don't know if you can. I don't know if you can though. I think we're all in a. I think because the board game kind of physical world, I think we're trying to address it now with like Board Game Arena, and I think places like Board Game Arena do a really really good job of allowing people who don't have the capital to be able to go and experience a kind of an awful lot of games. But if somebody says to me, look, I am not in, I'm not keeping up with the hotness, I don't have every single new game that's coming out, I'm kind of like, well, yeah, that's absolutely acceptable. If somebody said to me, oh, I'm getting every single new game that's coming out, I've just like backed this game, and this game, I'm like saying, do you need an intervention? Do you need somebody to sit down with you and go through your kind of your finances? Because that is it's a scary thing to kind of keep up with everything. But at the same time, when you're saying you're kind of keeping an eye on what's hot and what's out there, if you see a lot of games in a particular genre or particular mechanic and you see them all coming out, does that ever make you kind of go, well, maybe we need to kind of take this off the list, or maybe that this thing that I was on the fence about, maybe let's not proceed with that because it doesn't seem to have an awful lot of legs, basically.
Right. Yeah, I don't think I'm quite as concerned about what the market is doing in this moment because, to your point, there's been a lot of lead time of those designs, that have taken a lot of time to get to market. And so if you're seeing the trend, you've probably already missed the trend. And so if I see a bunch of mushroom games on the market, and I try to make a mushroom game now, it's going to be a year or two. And, by then there's probably too many mushroom games or whatever whatever example you want to use.
No,
for me,
let's face it, we're talking kind of Deep Impact Armageddon, aren't we? I mean, let's face it, we're talking about that kind of level. Undergrove, let's name them, Undergrove and Mycelium. They kind of came out around about the same time. And I'm wondering if there is going to be like an Armageddon kind of Deep Impact kind of comparison. It's like, yeah, they've got big asteroids, they've got big mushrooms kind of smashing into places and wrecking them. Right. But at the same time, one of them seems to have an actual story based on scientific fact, and the other one is deciding that they're going to... And this is a famous anecdote. There's another one deciding they were going to teach a bunch of drillers how to become astronauts as opposed to teaching... I don't know if you had
a bunch of astronauts to become. Yeah. I know exactly what you're talking about.
Was it Ben Affleck or something just like turned round to Michael Bay or something and said like, would it not be easier to have like MIT educated astronauts teaching them how to drill as opposed to teaching like kind of oil boys how to kind of like become astronauts? And it's like it's a different field. Apparently.
No, Richard. Do not look behind the curtain.
I am the great and powerful Michael Bay.
Yes.
This is before. It was Bay, wasn't it? I'm pretty sure it was Michael Bay that did Armageddon.
Listen to this Aerosmith song and forget about the plot holes.
Here's Liv Tyler.
Yes, exactly.
Here's Liv Tyler. Okay, Michael.
Well, all I know now from that story is that I really need to see a movie or play a game about a giant mushroom crashing into the earth. I think we've got something there. I want to see that. Right.
It's called Spore Impact, and it is literally it's a kind of a, okay, let's design this, okay? So you get to decide your mushroom, and you've got 2 points to your mushroom before it impacts into Earth, okay? It's a tableau building game. You've got a certain amount of spaces. The board is actually a mushroom, and it's got like about, say, 15 spaces to hit kind of like half-size cards, and you've got a chance to either balance up either the damage that the mushroom is going to incur as it breaks through the Earth's atmosphere and hits the ground to the effects that it has when it hits the Earth's surface. So you've got to basically balance up whether or not how much damage the mushroom is going to incur, and if you get damage to your mushroom on impact, then it removes some of the cards. However, it also creates kind of like the first wave of damage, which you're damaging a larger area if your kind of mushroom hits if it hits the Earth at a higher speed and a higher impact. Yes, it damages the mushroom, but you do more damage. But on the other side, if you do less damage and more of your mushroom survives, you've got the ability to basically have different engineered spores that are going to take long-term damage. And it's over, like, say, about 15 rounds. So you've got the first 5, which is to do with the preparation. The next 5, which is to do with the impact and the immediate effects of the impact. And the following 5, which is to do with the aftermath and what happens. Maybe you spread more mushrooms to encourage other mushrooms to attack. That's Mushroom Impact. That's coming to Kickstarter. Quarter 1.
I like everything about that, but now we need to add Push Your Luck and a dexterity element. I think we're there.
I think that's perfect. You could have a little wooden mushroom, and you have like a circular board, like a target board, and it's almost like the Scottish sport of curling, where you've got to flick your mushroom, and depending on where it hits, that's, like, okay.
I think we're onto something.
Okay,
here.
so that's
all right. I'll send the paperwork.
I do this all the time. I'll send the paperwork. I think I'll be sending you the paperwork, Mr. Stone. Actually, I mean, you're just listening in.
That's fair.
We're going to start with. We'll start with an NDA.
I thought you were looking for a publisher. I was going to send you a license agreement.
Oh well, I mean, you are officially one up on me because you are a publisher of a game.
Technically, I am. Yeah, it's true.
Technically, I am. Kind of not. How quickly was it getting Hissy Fit from an idea on a piece of paper to actually having it kind of down and having it kind of playing and having it kind of going?
That's a great question. So I'm pulling up my folder right now because I can tell you exactly when.
I love this.
When the concept, when I was sitting at my son's game, and when I made the initial sketch, and that was on May 19th of 2020. So it has taken almost 4 years to go from my first sketch in a notebook to today, to really, just under 4 years to deliver to our backers, which I don't think is atypical. I think that's probably not too unusual. It also sat for a while before I, reached out to Levi, and really that's when we started designing in earnest. And we went through a lot of different designs for this theme. And like I said, we really did start with the theme of the game, and tried a lot of mechanics in order to find something that would sort of recreate the feel of wrestling with a cat who was not happy trying to get it into a carrier to take to the vet. We tried a lot of different. We tried sort of like almost like a tactical. You build and originally it was going to be a mint tin game. We were originally going to have like cards that laid out on the table to form sort of a map of the house, and you had a meeple of the cat that you were using cards to manipulate to move around physically, trying to get it, tactically into the carrier space. That didn't really work, but we went down a lot of roads before we settled on the current mechanism, which I think does a really good job of giving you the feels.
I thought for a second there you were going to say we had the mint tin game, and the mint tin was going to have claws on the side. And then what you did is during the middle of the game, you picked up the mint tin and you threw it at the other player.
The game can be frustrating, but I don't think anyone's actually ever picked up the box and hurled it at their fellow players.
I don't know. I mean, you can get. I mean, there's bound to be one or two people who have like. You hear about these table flip folk all the time. I mean, if you get a heavy Euro box, I mean, I've got Mythic Battles and the Heroes of Land, Air, and Sea boxes.
Ah, yes.
I mean, if you I mean, if somebody threw that at you, I mean, you're not getting up anytime kind of soon. Was there a big change between the first iteration? Once you'd been working with Levi, was there a big change between the first iteration down to the final iteration that ended up in Kickstarter? And was there a lot of stuff that you left out, basically?
Well, there was a lot of stuff that we left out in the sense that we just completely shifted gears several times and completely changed the mechanisms that the game's built on, you know. I don't think we left value on the table. Like, I feel like what we came up with was 100% the right experience that people will want from a game like this. You know, we found the right balance of weight, I think, and complexity. I mean, it's a game that families can play together, even with little kids. You know, it's marked 8 plus is the age that we've done safety testing for and all that. But, you know, I've had people with 6-year-old kids who they're able to play as a family and enjoy the game together. So, I think that the development process of the game took the correct path, and everything that was supposed to end up in the game made it into the game, including a lot of fun stuff that, you know, in terms of thematic stuff like illustration, like we ended up working with a fantastic illustrator on this game who really captured the spirit of what we were trying to do as well. And so I think she brought a lot to the project that we couldn't have imagined without her. So that's been really fun.
I absolutely love the fact that normally when people are talking about kind of like cat games and stuff, you can see them going, oh, look at his little face and look at his little bow tie. And it's like, I'm looking at the pictures and illustrations of these cats, and it's just one bit of malevolence after another. There doesn't seem to be any kind of cat illustrated at all, which doesn't have the kind of, if you look at the wrong way at me, I'm going to literally, you know, you're going to need stitches at the kind of the local hospital, which is a nice change, because, I mean, if I see another cutesy cat, I mean, I'm obviously with the dog lying there. If I see another cutesy cat, I'm just be like, I don't need another cutesy cat. But the fact you've got like cats that are kind of like, they're a bit annoyed, they're a bit angry, they're a bit kind of mischievous looking, they're a bit perturbed. I'm here for that. I'm here for let cats be annoyed. That's what I'm kind of saying here. We've got, I mean, and one of the reasons you're here is because I just like to speak to people kind of like post campaign, because I think once you've delivered it, you know, you can be a bit more introspective, and you've not got your kind of kind of please have a look at our campaign kind of thing. So based on that, what was it being a kind of a first time kind of publisher? What was it like kind of creating noise and getting people kind of interested in the game? Was there some facts that any of that like took you by surprise, or you found easier or harder than you kind of expected it to be?
Yeah, that's a great question that I think it's a big question that a lot of people who have not run a successful Kickstarter ask themselves in earnest all the time. And designers, this is what designers who are contemplating becoming publishers bang their head on the table, you know, trying to figure out. And it's, to be honest, it's not what I'm best at. This is where I was so honored and privileged to be partnered with Levi, who I felt like was much better at the marketing and community building than I was. And I think had a little more bandwidth at the time to focus on that. Some of the things we did, so I had been building a mailing list since the times that I was first bringing my first game to playtest events and collecting people's emails. And so I had an email list with, you know, maybe 100 people on it, something like that. And so we used that as a base. But Levi, we created a Facebook group rather than a page, which is an important distinction because a Facebook page is sort of a place where a company can communicate out to their fans, but the fans can't really interact that much with a page. A group is somewhere where you can really start conversations, and anyone can start the conversation. The members can start the conversation, and ask us questions and show pictures and stuff like that. So that created a really valuable forum where we could do some fun community building activities, and this is where Levi was sort of the king of this project. So part of our community building had to do with getting our backers into the game. And so a big part of our campaign was, we've got an illustrator, we've created about a third of the art, and we actually launched our campaign with only a third of the art complete. And what that allowed us to do was to say, we got a lot of slots to fill here, people. You can participate, and we want your cats in our game. And so not only did we have a backer level that allowed you to pay, substantially more money than the cost of the game to get your cat, to sort of buy your cat into the game, but we also had a bunch of contests and stuff on the Facebook group where, we had bracketed voting contests where, you'd bring your friends into the group, and now everybody's voting in brackets on people who submitted pictures of their cats, whose cat should be on this card, and so that just got fever pitch kind of engagement of people just going nuts, wanting, bringing all their friends into the group and getting people to vote on their cats. And it was fantastic. We had sort of like guess the jelly bean, how many jelly beans in the jar kind of contests. We had just straight up drawings where if you joined the mailing list, we were going to draw from the mailing list to give out free copies of the game. We gave away free prototypes and merchandise and probably a bunch of stuff that we shouldn't have done in terms of like going overboard, but all that created a lot of buzz for the game. And
I've seen it before. I think Frank West when he did Isle of Cats, he did quite a simple thing, which was kind of like, he did the thing like, just post us pictures of your cats. And obviously I've known Frank for years, which meant I took the opportunity to post pictures of my dog whenever I could, and just say, dogs are better.
Photo bomb.
Because just pretty much going to do that. But then it was about kind of building the community. It was kind of like making it fun, and it took a kind of away the kind of thing which was, let's face it, in all honesty, I'm asking you for money for a product, but if we kind of all make it fun and we turn it into more of a community, then it means people kind of get a bit more kind of emotionally invested. And this is true with kind of like Isle of Cats. If you look at the group now, he ran a kind of he's got 2 cats, so he claims. I just think it's marketing, Frank. I've still said, even though you've provided pictorial proof. But he started to get people putting the pictures of their cats in the board game box when they were doing unboxing, when they were playing the game for the first time. He had pictures. The box was big enough for them to have their cat kind of sitting in the box. So it almost became like, it almost became when fulfillment, which sometimes can be a bit of a, let's face it, can be a bit of a challenge, and can be a bit of the time where it can get people's kind of heckles up. Hackles, whatever. I think it's hackles if it's a cat.
Once they get their hackles up, they start heckling you, I think.
I think that's I'll take that. That's a good thing. But it became a kind of a fun thing, because as people were getting their games, they were putting pictures on the group of, this is my cat in the lid, and it almost, in fact, I think in the inside of the box it actually says, this is a space for you to put your cat. So
they've got sort of a target. It's got circles with a thing that says, "This is the cat storage spot."
This is the
One of our cards in Hissy Fit pays a little tribute to that. So the backer photos, or sorry, the cats that are in the game that came from our backers, they provided us with a photo, and then our artist worked off the photo to create the pictures. And one of our backers, who was a fantastic supporter of ours throughout the whole process, a gal named Mary, has a cat whose name is Commander Saul Ty. I don't know if you're a Battlestar Galactica fan,
Oh
but so
yeah.
Commander Saul Ty was the guy with the eye patch, the
Yeah.
grizzled commander with the eye patch. Her cat is a one-eyed hairless sphinx cat, and
I love it.
she sent us a picture. So he's bald with one eye,
Wow.
and he just looks like a tough guy. She sent us a picture of the commander in the lid of the Isle of Cats box,
Ah,
sitting in
right.
his proper
Okay.
spot. So we
Yeah.
used that photo, and so one of our cards actually has a cat in an we didn't call it Isle of Cats. I think it says Island Cats on the side of the box, but we
Well,
didn't want to risk any copyright infringement. But
well, yeah, exactly, exactly. You don't have to all of a sudden withdraw like kind of like 1,000 copies of the
Right.
game just because you've
Right.
accidentally thought, "Oh, this is fun," and they're like, "Oh, you think it's fun, do you?"
Yeah,
Let's see
do
what
you
your
indeed?
lawyers. Let's see what your
Yeah.
lawyers gonna say.
Exactly. So anyway, but
But
that was a fun homage, I thought, to another great cat game.
but one of the things you also did, and I think were getting round to this, was get a game and adopt a cat,
Yep, that's right.
which I thought was unusual because I think I can imagine Simon doing something like get a game and trying to adopt a zombie, and them sending a brain-eating flesh eater around to your house, and then saying, but we'll reimburse you up to $200 in adoption fees, which
Yes.
I mean I don't even know if that zombie adoption is a kind of an industry, but
Less
obviously it's a
well-known.
very kind of it's a noble. It might be well known in California, but you guys in California just do your own thing as it is. But what made you decide to kind of go ahead and kind of do that then?
Yeah, so this was my favorite part of the campaign for a couple of reasons. And the original idea came from a podcast that I heard. I don't know if you're familiar with Gabe Barrett's show, the Board Game
Yeah.
Design Lab podcast, which I've gotten so much out of that one over the years, and his Facebook group as well. But one of the interviews I heard on there was from, I think it was the Exploding Kittens folks, talking about the hand-to-hand wombat campaign. I don't know if you followed that at all, but and I hope I'm getting all the facts right here, the publisher name and the game name and all of that. But there was a campaign where they gave away a house as one of the reward levels. So, and what they would do is they would constantly over the course of the campaign go in and just keep adding these bizarre pledge levels, like that. And if you bought the game, it didn't cost any more than the game. You just buy the game, but you use that pledge level in the Kickstarter, and you get a house. And it was a real house. It was like a tiny house or something. They actually gave you a house with your $20 pledge for their game or whatever it was. And they did all kind of weird stuff. They gave away a bunch of different things like that. And it just occurred to me, well, hey, what if we gave away a cat, right? And it would just be something to generate some press, maybe, get people interested in seeing what was going on. But the more I thought about it, the more it appealed to me, the idea of sort of leaning into the idea that cat adoption is really an important thing for animal lovers. And there's a huge homeless animal problem, and there's animals in shelters that need to be adopted, and I just thought if this was a way we could kind of shine a spotlight on that it would be a win-win. It would be a win for us to get something unique about the campaign, and it would be a win for to shine some light on that, on animal adoption. And so the way we ended up structuring it was we started the campaign with a single one of these pledge levels. And it was just $1 more than the game itself. So you could get the game at a $20 pledge level. We had a $21 pledge level that basically said, hey, pledge at this level, and if you adopt a cat within the period, within some short time period after the campaign, we will reimburse you $200 worth of vet and adoption fees for your, associated with your adoption. And we were terrified the whole time that this would be breaking some kind of Kickstarter rule because they have some pretty specific rules against including live animals in your reward levels. Like you can't have a Kickstarter for live animals that includes live animals. And so we reached out to Kickstarter and asked, hey, can you clear this for us? And we never heard back and never heard back. And the launch day was approaching. We were like, we're just going to run with it and see if they take us down, But it ended up working out. And the other thing we were doing with that was every 200 normal pledges we received, we added an additional one of those cat adoptions. And we ended up having 5 different families adopt cats and get reimbursement, $1,000 worth of reimbursement from the campaign. And one of those adopters ended up adopting 4 cats at the same time. And so we ended up, we placed 8 cats over the course of that project in their forever homes, as they say. So yeah, that was a great part of it for us. And we had a website where they could give us updates over the course of the campaign, so people would go and look and see as they were picking what cat to adopt and what cat they ended up with, and all that was a big fun part of it too.
But that's one of the things I don't know. I think that's one of the things I kind of miss about Kickstarter is the kind of the community side of things. I think it seems to have lost its way a little bit in terms of where it's kind of going. It seems to be, I don't know, I think it's like one of these things that was sitting pretty for ages. Kickstarter was sitting wonderful, and it's kind of approached it the same way that maybe Patreon or Spotify or any of these other places is. We provide the platform, you put the content on there, and then we make money off the back of it. And I think what's happened with Kickstarter is it's starting to realise that that kind of doesn't necessarily work for tabletop games, and we need somebody to kind of hold the hands a kind of a bit. And it also seems to be doing. I don't know if like they wake up in the morning and it's kind of like, God, how can we make people not like us more? I know. Let's talk about blockchain. What else? Well, okay. Well, I don't know. AI. Shall we do AI art? There was. I think I saw a couple of weeks ago a guy that had basically launched the campaign, which he pretty much kind of confessed in the kind of the campaign that none of the artwork was his. It was all AI generated. And in fact, he had quite literally put the rule book for Catan into Chat GPT and said, go and change this and change the theme to this. So he was kind of like, oh yeah, we kind of did work, but we used kind of like Chat GPT to help kind of generate the kind of the rules. And I think the last time I checked, he had about I don't even know if the campaign went ahead, but he had about 2 or 3 kind of pledges, and that was it. And it was probably him and probably 2 of his friends that had done the kind of the
that's
pledge.
reassuring, at least, that he had so few backers.
Well, yeah, exactly. I mean, you're talking about the lovely artwork that's been done on Hissy Fit, and I'm like, well, that's art. Somebody's been paid for that art, and that's helping that person kind of go ahead and continue to be an artist, which is a kind of like a wonderful thing. You used GameFound as the pledge manager. Are you gonna? I mean, they've obviously from going from dipping a toe in the water, they're now kind of jumped on with both feet, and they're offering a kind of like a full kind of crowdfunding service. So are you, if you're doing another game, is it good to have choice now? Is it good to like be able to say, well, I can look at BackerKit or I can look at GameFound as well as looking at kind of Kickstarter? Does that give you kind of different avenues now?
Oh yeah, 100%. So I think it's fantastic that Kickstarter has some competition now.
Yeah.
And aside from the value that's provided by the options, the additional choices for creators, I think just that competitive pressure is going to make all of them better. And we're seeing that already. I think Kickstarter has already added features in reaction to the competition that's coming from GameFound primarily. And so I think that can only be a good thing. I never wanted to run my own crowdfunding campaign. Like, that was sort of a last resort for us, because I knew it was going to be so much work. I knew it was going to require skills that were not my wheelhouse, and I'm thrilled that we did as well as we did. And again, I think Levi and I complemented each other well, providing different pieces of the puzzle for that. But I don't think either one of us is especially excited about the idea of running another one, because it's just a ton of work, and I have a I have a job.
Exactly.
I would love for game design and publishing to be able to be my full-time job, but that is a tough road. And so I would love to be able to just focus on design and then hand my designs off to publishers who are really good at that and can do it at scale. So that said, if I was going to do another Kickstarter or another crowdfunding campaign, and it's not off the table completely, I've thought about things that might lead me to do that. I think that my own imperfect analysis of the current crowdfunding landscape would probably lead me to turn to GameFound for a big hobby game like my Magnetic Gears game, my steampunk game. If I was going to try and crowdfund that, I would almost certainly go to GameFound, because it has a much bigger hobby game audience, I think. Heavy game, I think heavy games are going to do better on GameFound. If I was going to do
Simon's jumped ship.
Exactly. Jumped onto there. Yeah, exactly. If I was going to do another game of the weight of Hissy Fit, I think I would probably, if I was doing it today, I would probably still do it on Kickstarter, because Kickstarter still brings, as I understand it, a much bigger organic audience to be exposed to your game through the Kickstarter platform itself. And we a huge majority, I think maybe 60% of our backers, and again, this data is a little hard to know exactly how much to believe it, but because it comes from Kickstarter. If the data is to be believed, about 60% of our backers came organically through Kickstarter. So I don't think Hissy Fit would have been nearly as successful on GameFound, where it wouldn't appeal to the crowd that's there as much as a heavier game.
Yeah, they have opened the floodgates now to let kind of anybody on now, as before it was it was kind of by arrangement, but we'll see. I agree with you. I think it's good. I think it's good that Kickstarter has some kind of competition. I think it will hopefully get them to look at how things are being carried out, and it'll allow GameFound to look at how they're doing, and BackerKit to see how they're all doing. If there's almost like somebody that it's about Kickstarter haven't seemed to been able to police themselves. So if that means that they lose companies out to other places that are maybe willing to do that, it might get them to get a bit more involved.
Absolutely.
Which is good. One thing we haven't talked about, I'm absolutely guilty of doing that, is for people that have listened along today, do you want to give us the kind of the 115-second elevator pitch for Hissy Fit?
Oh, sure. Yeah, absolutely. So Hissy Fit...
You practiced this, Chris.
Yes, of course. Well, we've been talking... it's a great point. We've talked a lot about a game that we didn't really tell anybody what it is, so we should do that.
Welcome to the show.
Yes. We call Hissy Fit a cooperative card game of coordinated cat coaxing. So this is a cooperative game. It's about getting your cat in the carrier to take to the vet. It's mostly a card game, so you've got human cards that are in your hand and cat cards that go out on the table. The cat cards represent obstacles preventing the cat from moving towards the carrier. And then you have a single card that goes out on the table with a adorable cat meeple that has to traverse a little, 10 or so steps to get from the start point into the carrier. And so your human cards allow you to remove cat cards from the table. And they also allow you to move the cat on the track. They allow you to remove scratches and other things. The cat cards that come out onto the into the cat row, as we call it, do things like prevent the cat from being moved. They give you scratches. They move the cat backwards on the tracker. And then they also have instant effects such as adding scratches and also adding hisses to 3 different Hissy Fit cards that are face down at the start of the game. Whenever any of the Hissy Fit cards get 3 of those hisses, they flip over and something terrible happens. The cat just loses its mind and has a Hissy Fit. And if all 3 Hissy Fit cards flip over, that's sort of the game timer. So there are exactly enough cards with hisses in the cat deck to trigger the 3 Hissy Fits by the end of the game. So if the 3 Hissy Fit cards are flipped over, the game's over and all the players lose. And likewise, if you get all the scratches, there's the basic difficulty level of the game has 5 scratches. If you ever have 5 scratches, game's over and you lose. And then, of course, if you get the cat in the carrier, everybody wins together and you get the cat to the vet. But if you fail, then the trip to the vet turns into a trip to the emergency room, and the cat doesn't go to the vet that day.
There's like extra kind of things like you get scratched by the cat and then accidentally fall into a vat of lemon juice, and that seems
in the expansion.
That seems quite cruel. That's not a good one.
No.
I'm
making notes for the next set of cards.
No, don't, because no, it's not, because we've already been there and I'm just making an absolute mess of everything. In terms of people getting hold of a copy of the games, I guess when you did the print run, you did a print run which gave you enough to have some in kind of like to the side for further kind of distribution. So are people able to pick up a kind of a copy now that the game is kind of out in the wild, as they would say, or out in the cat box, as they would say?
Yes. You certainly can. So yeah, we ended up with about 1,000 backers on our original campaign. We did a 3,000 unit print run, which was a little bigger than we had originally anticipated. But we were excited to be able to do that. So you can get the game today at hissyfitgame.com. Goes to our landing page, and you can click there to go to. Right now, today, the only option we have is to go to the GameFound late pledge platform, but you can still late pledge today, and we're processing orders sort of on a weekly basis, so you'll get it quickly if you order there. And on the so you don't have to wait. You're not going to be waiting a long time if you place an order for it today on GameFound, and because it's fully delivered. All the Kickstarter backers who've completed their pledge manager have their games now. So that's the option today. We're in the process of setting up an e-commerce site, so we're going to have an online store, but it'll be available at that same link. So we'll just change where the button goes on our landing page. And then we've also started working with distributors to get these into game stores. So hopefully you'll be able to find this at your friendly local game store soon, if it's not there already.
Or unfriendly if they don't like cats, I guess. Or
yes, your friendly, your local game store of whatever demeanor you happen to have.
Whatever emotional dissonance they're involved in today.
Exactly.
Basically. But if people have listened along and they want to keep an eye on what you're up to, where can they find you on the internet webs, Mr. Stone? Where do you exist?
Yes. So I have a website which is stoneagedistractions.com. That's the name of my publishing company and my sort of design after the brand for my design efforts. Currently, that website has just been hijacked by the Hissy Fit landing page. So if you go to Stone Age Distractions today, it'll just redirect you to learn about Hissy Fit. But as we move into other projects, that'll be a place to see what else is coming. And then I'm most active online on Facebook. So you can search for me there. I'm also a moderator, as I mentioned before, of the BGDL, the Board Game Design Lab
Right,
Facebook
okay.
group, and
Yeah,
that's sort of my biggest haunt in the game design world. And any
wonderful.
designers out there who aren't a member of that group, I highly recommend it. Good place on
Yeah,
the
Gabe,
interwebs.
Gabe was on the show a long. I was almost going to do a Ben Kenobi kind of voice. Oh, a long time ago, before you were born.
That's a name I haven't heard in a very long time.
Exactly. Yeah, but yeah, and we had a fascinating discussion at the time. And yes, Board Game Design Lab is a good place if you are either a fully experienced designer, or if you're taking your first steps into it. We will of course make sure that we put all of the links in the show notes, so that we've got notes to show. If you want to keep an eye on what we're up to, there's a couple of places you can go. If you want to check out the other podcasts that we've done, you can find it through places like Spotify. If you search for We're Not Wizards, you'll find it there. Or you can go to the main podcast website, which is we'renotwizards.com. If you want to read words that we have written down once we play games and we think, what do we think of that game? Then you can go to we'renotwizards.co.uk and you'll see a breadth of different reviews, including one that we have done recently about Exploding Kittens, which is their it's their variation of Love Letter they've got out there, which is Power Hungry Pets, which I'm not going to talk about because it's another cat-based game, and I'm like up to here the cat-based games at the moment. But yeah, if you want to go, we'renotwizards.co.uk, you'll find previous podcast episodes, as well as written reviews, previews, and general game news as well. If you like what you've listened to tonight, please go to your podcast catcher of choice and drop us a rating or a review. And it'd be wonderful if you told other people of our existence. But there's only a couple more things to do. First of all, thank you very, very much for guesting, Chris. I really appreciate it.
It's my pleasure, Richard. Great to speak with you. Thank you for having me.
There's only a couple of things left to do. The first thing is to remember that we're many things, but we're not wizards. Are we wizards, Chris?
Well, as we heard about an hour ago, we are the best, but not wizards.
And we also got to say goodbye. So it's a goodbye from rather wonderful, rather fantastic, very calm, not having a hissy fit at all, Mr. Chris Stone. Say goodbye, Chris.
Goodbye.
And it's a goodbye from me. Remember, stay safe, roll sixes, and check out Hissy Fits. You know, if you get the box and you stroke it very gently, it does make a purring sound, apparently. Well, at least the second edition does. But and they've also got the holes in the bottom of the box with the foot, which we guarantees is going to be in the next printing, which I've now committed to doing. So there you go. But until the next time, goodbye.
A wizard is never late. Nor is he early. He arrives precisely when he means to.